It's a great day to flex your freedom. I'm your host, Barb Allen. Can you believe, I think any normal, sane person is sick to death of how cancel culture and wokeness have taken over not only the globe, but this country, which is supposed to be so free and so proud of our differences and diversity. And one by one, we've watched people sort of cave over the year and choose compliance and silence in order to preserve their jobs or their relationships or their prestige or whatever it is that they are protecting that they value more than freedom. So we especially love when we connect with people who don't give a shit about any of that and are tired of complying and being silent and trying to encourage others to do so and putting everything on the line to speak up for what they know is right. And here with us today is somebody who's doing exactly that. Chris Martini, thank you so much for joining us.
Great to be with you. Thank you for having me.
So you are in the Hollywood industry, which people almost say with a shudder now, because everybody is kind of seeing behind the curtain of Hollywood. You know, back in the day, we didn't really know too much of what was going on. And I'm sure there's a lot we still don't know. But back in the day, we could just turn on movies or TVs and not really know the actors or the people who are involved in the films and where they stood, what their positions were, what their personalities were, and all that. But now with social media in particular, we're getting to know these people that we see on our screens so much more. And we're getting to hear more of how people are being canceled and shut out of this industry. But you have gone, really, you've gone all in. And you're just sort of, I guess it's in the family because your brother has done that too, you know, in his own career. But can you talk a little bit about some of the movies you've done? Trooper was a big one, right? And you have a music video you're producing coming up that honors Gold Star families, and you've done so much more. So you want to talk a little bit about those?
Sure. My first film out of film school was a short film called The Stone Child, which is actually about a Native American kid coming of age on the reservation. That was actually my first project, and you know, I didn't even intentionally decide to make a film that could be considered woke, and I guess that was my wokest film without even knowing that I was doing it. It was just sort of a story that I wanted to tell. So I went out and I shot this film on an Indian reservation using locals as actors, and it did really well. And I wanted to develop it into a feature. It was a short film, and I think through making that, I started to realize that I wasn't ever going to be part of the woke crowd, regardless of the film that I make. And so that was sort of the beginning of a process of realization, because I really wanted to make the feature version, and I got very close, with the Sundance Institute and other places like that are, the gatekeepers of this woke community. And I think I realized I was never going to be part of that club, although they let me in close. I got really close, but in the past 4 or 5 years is when I realized, how much they dictate who gets let in and who doesn't. So I realized, that I was never going to be part of this woke crowd. And because I had gotten in the door, it gave me a glimpse of what was happening. And I if you're a filmmaker, you have two roads. You can either go the Hollywood route, which is not me. I've always worshiped filmmakers like John Cassavetes, independent filmmakers, guerrilla filmmakers, or you can go the woke route, and that's applying for grants, going to hoping that Sundance Institute, the Sundance Film Festival, Tribeca, these places let you in. And I didn't fit in either place, which is kind of how I got to where I am now. And then I've made films after that. I'm happy to talk about any of them. My next film after that was Trooper, and which was about an Iraq vet who comes home from war and I play him. I wrote, directed, acted, and it was very hard. I'll never do that again. But uh, he comes home and to his Vietnam veteran father who's dying of Agent Orange, and my brother Max Martini plays my brother in the movie. He's still deployed, but you know the movie did really well in military circles, and you know it was a combination of through making that movie and realizing the apathy towards how veterans really sacrifice for us by the general public, that and 9/11, which really made me come into my own and want to develop my conservatism, if that's what you call it, you know, a little more.
Yeah, so there were a couple of key spots there that you pointed out, the different paths you could take uh, doing what you do, and that's interesting because again, if you're not in the industry, you don't really understand how it works, right? So I don't know. I go see a movie or turn it on. I just want to turn it on. I don't want to think about that. I got other things on my mind, right? That's you got, but all the behind the scenes stuff that you guys have to do that it takes to get that movie or that show on the screen is crazy. What would be your advice to somebody now? Because I'm seeing more things like documentaries and films based on true stories, right? Based on veterans. I just went to a screening of one last week out there in Dallas. And what would be your advice to somebody who is doing a film like Trooper in order to to have the biggest reach? What are some things that some lessons maybe that you learned along the way that could help them?
So, you know, just going back, I'll answer the question, but going back a little bit to where we were before in terms of two roads, and this might answer the question also. But
Yeah.
um, you know, when you make a film, you're talking. If you make a good film, a decent film that's meaningful, you're looking at more than 5 years of your life. I think you know because you know depending on how quickly you can write a script, you know, a good script could take a year to make, and then to raise the money to make a movie could take another, you know, 2 or 3 years. That's what takes the most time is finding the money, and then, you know, shooting it can be done in like a month or so, you know, and then you're in editing for, you know, probably at least another good 6 months, I would say, if you're lucky. So, you know, you're talking about, and then selling it, festivals, getting distributed, you know, you live with this thing for so many years. And that's why it's so, if you're not going the Hollywood route, it's so devastating when after so many years you get so close with the festivals, but they don't, you know, you have to ask yourself, why are the big ones not taking it? And I think there's so many politics in there. There's so many gatekeepers, people that control, you know, what we see on that side, and they're all embedded with Hollywood. All the film festivals, they have deals with agents, you know. So as an American filmmaker, you're fighting for, you know, one or two spots as an independent filmmaker because they've given away all these other spots to, you know, Hollywood films with celebrities that are going to show up on the red carpet. And, you know, then there's this whole globalism trend. You know, they've got to show a film from Israel, they've got to show a film from Palestine, you know. So, you know, they claim to support independent filmmakers, but they really don't. And you're fighting for one or two spots, and it's the biggest lottery anyone could ever play, and they're going to give away those spots to, you know, the kid from the Bronx with no money that made his film, you know. So it's not really a system that supports independent film and American independent filmmaking. So, you know, but me, I'm in love with making movies, and I'll carve my own road, and that's where I'm not at now. Now, I'll answer your question, and it really is about just getting your film seen, you know. So if my films are going to show on Newsmax or something, that's great, you know. I mean, you want people to see it regardless of, it's pretty sad that they're not going to see it in movie theaters. Movie theaters are slowly being eradicated, and that's a sad thing as a filmmaker, because you want to see your work on the big screen. But my advice is to filmmakers is just, pick the right story, and pick the story that you want to tell, and not, am I freezing?
Nope.
Okay. Pick the story that you want to tell, and not the story that other people want you to tell, so that would be my biggest thing. And that, you know, my father was an artist. He always said, make your film contemporary. I think it always helps if your film is about something that people are dealing with on a daily basis, And then the other thing is that, it's a long, hard road, and you gotta stick with it. And all the other things which are obvious, you have to learn your craft. You have to watch movies. You have to love movies. If you don't love movies, if you don't watch movies, there's no reason for you to make them. Otherwise you're just making it for your narcissism or something. I don't know if I answered it, but
Yeah, you did. So, I mean, that just does, it sounds like, although that stuff all sucks, all those hurdles and steps and all that, it sounds like it sort of would cull the herd, because it sounds like something that most people would just give up on.
yeah,
No?
I went to NYU Film School, and I had a whole class of people that I some of which I kept in touch with, and they dropped like flies. Many of them went into real estate or something else, something lucrative or something smart
Yeah.
like law. But those things were never fun to me, and it's not my passion. I come from a family of artists, so I want to create, and this is what I do. So, and the other thing is that I'm stubborn, and when somebody tells me not to make a film, that's when I go and make that film. So it's like Butch
Yeah.
Cassidy, tell me to do something, I'll do the opposite.
Well, speaking of, you have one recently completed, right? We were going to come to your debut, your screening, whatever, in down there, I think on Staten Island, but then that was canceled because you had some bigger, better things come up, right? You want to talk about Relentless Patriot?
Yes. Uh, so I guess that project started at the beginning of the pandemic. Just let me know if I cut out, and I'll repeat. But that project started at the beginning of the pandemic. I had a production company in Midtown, and we were making sort of the money to do our own projects by doing corporate videos and just boring stuff. But the pandemic killed my company. Our client kind of disappeared, and so I closed the business. My partner and I split our camera gear, and he got half, I got half, so I had a baby coming, so I was sitting around kind of with my cameras documenting my wife's pregnancy and sort of the birth of our child. And then the George Floyd riots started happening, and I was watching on TV, politicians fomenting the public to go destroy our cities, and that could be the very thing that made me start to come out and be vocal as a conservative. I mean, you get to a point where, how are you going to, we live in the freest country on earth. I'm not going to live in silence, especially when I, make a living in the arts, where we're awarded this freedom so that we can express ourselves. So it was during that time I started to develop like a conservative docu-series. So I've been shooting interviews with like well-known conservatives, and my landlord, who is a conservative, my landlord in New York is from Staten Island. I live in Brooklyn, but he's a conservative. he said, you got to go interview this guy, Scott Lebedo, this crazy artist activist. So I went to Staten Island. I interviewed Scott Lebedo. It was the longest interview of my life. It was almost 2 hours, but the guy couldn't shut up. But he was talking about, you know, I'm half Italian, so I also love Italians. I love, I'm an Italian citizen. I have a place in Italy. I'm getting my son's passport. I'm teaching him Italian. So I also being half Irish, half Italian, I feel more drawn. My dad was Italian, so I'm drawn towards like Italian. So anyways, I love the guy, even though he's crazy. But, he was talking about just all the things that concern me. And, you know, this is when I'm really starting to come into my own as a conservative. And it turns out that he needed a documentary, and it was the pandemic, and I wasn't doing anything. I was sitting around with my camera gear, and I just started filming him. And I filmed him for 2 years. And he's also an activist. He does art and he does activism. So I had filmed him doing all these crazy things. I said, Scott, if you don't get arrested for my film, I'm not going to have a film. And he actually ended up getting arrested, which is great. So he's got to
Oh,
take one
that
for the
was nice of
team.
him. I was
Yeah,
just gonna say it was nice of him to take one for that team. He is
he
I
did.
mean, I say he's hilarious, but I know that's not his intent. He's not going out there seeking to entertain people, right? Like he means what he say, but he's hilarious in the fact that he says what so many people want to say or so many people are thinking, but don't really have the courage to say. And he does the things that people don't have the courage to do. And he was splashing paint on the sidewalk there. I'm like, yeah, rock on, dude, go. And yeah, and
So
what a trip
let
that
me
must have
tell
been.
you, I got to tell the audience like exactly what
Yeah.
he is. What he is. He's probably the only conservative artist that ever existed in New York, in my opinion. And my father was an artist, so I know the art world really well. He was totally blacklisted from the art world. He realized that they hate America. Many of them do, many of them don't. That's a generalization. But, one gallery had an American flag as a doormat, to give you an idea. And,
Wow.
so he realized this and he went all around the country painting American flags. He's done one on rooftops in every state. He did 3 tours, so that's 150 American flags that he's painted on rooftops. He painted the biggest American flag ever on a rooftop in Texas. Um, I don't know how many acres it was, but it was ridiculous. But but he also does very provocative art, and so I became really interested. It was a lot of fun following him around the city. So we were going to have a premiere in August. We sold out, most of the theater, and a big producer came on board. His name is Julius Nasso, and he produced all the Steven Seagal movies pretty much, and he's doing Gambino right now, which is the story of Gambino crime family with a bunch of A-listers. And anyway, so he signed on to this film, and his goal is to get it seen to the widest possible audience. And I was totally okay with that because this guy can do a lot more than I can. And he lined up some great interviews. So this is more advice for your, aspiring filmmakers out there is, unfortunately, you need names in your movie. If people don't recognize the names, no one's going to see it. So you also have to play the game. You have to play the Hollywood game. I'm not overplaying the Hollywood game. I'm just going to play it a little bit differently. And, I'm a huge admirer of Clint Eastwood and, John Voight. So our producer got John Voight for the movie. We're going to interview him.
Perfect.
The producer also got me Rudy Giuliani. So I went to Giuliani's house and interviewed him, and that was life changing, And he's, I think we got Frank Stallone, Joe Piscopo. We're going to put them in the movie, and we're going after Donald Trump eventually. So once these people are in the movie, I'm allowing him to give it to another editor to trim it down to an acceptable length, because no one has attention spans anymore. And
Hmm.
once these things happen, I feel very hopeful that this guy can get the film out to the audience that needs to that needs to see it. And there will be another premiere, but it will be bigger.
Cool. Well, this time we'll jump on the tickets so we get them in time. Yeah, we
You got to get the
interviewed Scott.
VIP.
Yeah, we missed the VIP last time, so we'll this time we'll be in time and we'll get it first. But yeah, we interviewed Scott a while ago, and he was great just even to interview, just because the intensity that he comes through with, like you could feel it just through the screen even. So I imagine hanging out with him is sort of next level. Being around people like that just leave you fired up like for the rest of the day.
Ano-
Like I don't know what it is I'm
Another
going to do,
thing,
but I'm going to do it like a badass, right? Like if I'm gonna go get a hot
another
dog, I'm gonna
thing.
make that hot dog the best one ever, right? Like whatever it is you're gonna do, you're gonna do it.
Another
Yeah.
thing. The reason why I wanted to do it is not just because he's a conservative and he's nuts, which will look good on film. Him
Yeah.
being nuts, doing crazy things, which he did. But you know, he has a following, and that's really
Yeah.
important, because the hardest thing, when you make a movie, is to get an audience. So he already has a built-in following, and it's a big following, So if he's a celebrity in Staten Island, that's only going to help my movie, and people know him around the country too. But you know,
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, your dedication to this film and your message and your belief system, I think comes through right then and there, because you had to set aside any ego or whatever it was that like your hold on that film to sort of hand it off to somebody else with your blessing to come in and work with you to take your baby that you've invested so much of yourself in, and now to let somebody else come in and have a hand in that because you believe in it so much. I think that speaks volumes to you. But you're still involved, you're still interviewing people yourself,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. No, I'll be. Whether I direct the interviews over Skype or Zoom or whatever, I'm still involved. I'm creating the questions, and it's just to get their insight into the movie. But what I was going to say is that the more movies you make, the more you realize that you have a million movies inside of you. So you should never covet one movie and think that oh my God, this is my baby. It may be your baby, but if you're good at what you do, you'll know when to say something. When you feel it, your child is being, going astray, you gotta bring it back. And but it's one of the many movies, and I'm right now more interested in sort of honing what my conservative values are, and trying to find a way to get those into my movies moving forward. I just finished watching Father Stew, Mark Wahlberg's movie.
That was a great movie.
I think it's such. I think he did
Yeah.
such an. First of all, it's bold to do a movie about that deals with religion. Period.
Hmm.
But he also packaged it in a really entertaining way, which is smart. And no, I'm really inspired by that. I'm finding more and more people in Hollywood are sort of admitting that that they believe in God, or that they're a
Hmm.
conservative, and starting. I'm seeing people come out of the woodworks and stand up, for our country.
Yeah, I'm starting to notice that too, and it's really encouraging to me as well, because I do know exactly what you said. You need people with platforms like to go out there and speak up for what is right and to speak up for America's core values, because No matter, we can scream it to the rooftops and we have some level of a platform, but, we're not Mark Wahlberg, we're not Chris Pratt, and all those other people who are finally coming out there and speaking out. So it is really, really encouraging to see too. I'd love to see you all join forces and really just kind of I hate the word reimagine. That it sort of like gives me like a little shudder now, because Democrats want to reimagine everything. They want to reimagine the Constitution. They want to reimagine this and that, right? But I'm going to apply it in a positive way now, and I hope you all reimagine Hollywood and redesign it to be something for everybody in the truest sense, instead of saying they're for everybody, but really only being for this select kind of unit clique
I
in
think
this
it's a
country. I don't
really
want
exciting. I think it's a really exciting time to be a conservative, especially a conservative in the arts. I mean, even though it feels like our country is headed to the gutter, but I think that it's a really exciting time because all this stuff is going on, and you know it's almost like combat camera, because we're at war, I think, with ourselves, and but I also feel like that it's a renaissance. This is like, I feel like it's a renaissance to bring back the American values, which were in so many of the great movies that we've made in the past. I would say from pre Jaws, like from like the 70s moving back, some of the films in the 40s with like Frank Capra, Howard Hawks, when, there was you know, no explicit nudity, no explicit language. And, but you knew when they were talking in the scene together what they wanted to do with each other, but they never said it, and you never see it. It was when we had a lot more class than we do. And I think now is no better time for filmmakers to bring that back, to where we are. I don't know how it got so led astray, but everything is so out in the open and laid on the table, and we need to get the subtlety and the suggestion back. That's
Yeah, sometimes less
so.
really is more. Sometimes the level of transparency, we'll say, is a little bit of nice enough even for me. I'm like, all right, come on, can we get back to the plot, please?
And I'm
So
not coming
there's
at
a
it
good
from like
blend.
a.
There's a good amount to find, right? It's the sweet spot. I think we've gone way past the sweet spot now, in my
And
personal
it's not
opinion.
like a born again Christian like type
Right.
of way of looking at things. That's not where I'm coming at from all, at all. But it's just more that, I think it's just a higher level of art when
Yeah.
everything is suggested. A great film is always in the subtext. What happened to the characters before, and how that plays into the current story. Like Chinatown is one of the best films for doing that. Like there's so much under the surface, and yeah, so it's exciting. I want to do my part to at least make one masterpiece like that, where I feel like I've done exactly what I say I want to do.
Awesome. So you also do projects that just seem like fun too. I didn't know that you did this one project until I was just refreshing myself on y'all yesterday, and I came across, what was it, Semper Fido, your commercial, and I couldn't believe it, with Ryan Weaver singing in the background. So, and, I laughed my ass off when I saw that. I'm like, this is just so silly, but so great. So let's sort of roll into the last part of this on a lighter note here. Talk about the
Sure.
just how you get into some of the silly stuff like that, and the point. Well, I thought it was silly, but in a good way.
Well, the comedies are some of the best to make, and
Yeah.
so like I'm working on a comedy now, and there's no. What pisses off liberals the most is
Happiness.
when we're happy and we're funny. Like I've
Yes.
noticed, like the people that are still friends with me, when they come onto my posts, it's because of something that's like funny and poking fun, and they like humor is just a quicker road to the truth, and
Mhm.
so I want to do everything possible to be funnier. And, I just made that commercial during the pandemic with my dog. I was just messing around with my cameras,
Yeah.
but like, and it was a spec commercial. It's not a real commercial. I actually want to do more of those just because they're so ridiculous. But
It was so ridiculous, especially, like, I'm hearing Ryan sing in the background. I'm like, "What is this?" Like, all these people we know, like, coming together to do this, and your dog is, like, perfect in the movie. I don't know. It just made me laugh, like, unexpectedly.
well,
I wasn't expecting to come across them.
when I was starting out in the industry, I was working in editing on a Showtime TV show. I was an assistant editor, but I was working with the producers of this show, Northern Exposure, these writer producers, and they're really well known. They worked on The Sopranos and Northern Exposure, and they're a husband and wife comedy team. And being in editing, I got to work really closely with them, and I would often do the temp voiceover, which is not, if you're in the editing room, you just record something temporarily and it doesn't make the final thing. It's not going to make the final thing, but someone needs to jump in and do it. So I was doing all those, and I was cracking them up on the side, and they were like, Chris, we read your script and we really like it, but you're such a funny guy. Why are you so serious all the time? And so I want to listen to their advice and do more comedies. Like, I made my brother. I made a movie with my brother where he plays my dad, and it was about my dad's failed. My dad had millions of failed businesses, and one of them was a pasta sauce company. And my brother plays my dad, and my brother's son, plays me essentially. And it was just a silly comedy about failed pasta business, but it was hilarious, and it went to so many festivals. They showed it on Alaska Airlines, and it's a short, so that's as much as it can do. But it's just proof that I think people want to laugh, and I know how to do that, and I want to do it more. Yeah, but there will always be a drama once in a while.
Yeah, again, it's the balance of it all, right? You gotta get
Right.
serious, you gotta think and provoke thought and all that, but human spirits and souls, we need to laugh and just kinda
Yeah.
not take ourselves too seriously all the time. So you can find that blend. It's a
Yeah.
it's a good fit. So, Chris, I wanna thank you as a Gold Star wife, someone who I lost my husband in service in 2005. Our 4 kids were 6, 5, 3, and 1. We went through several different layers of our own kind of hell trying to recover from that. But I am involved with the veteran community still. And I just want to thank you on behalf of me and my family and a lot of families I know for doing what's right and for being the voice of true Americans, I believe true Americans and the core values that so many people give so much of themselves for. So we look forward to seeing all that comes to supporting your films and your projects the best way we can. Absolutely, Relentless Patriot. When the next screening comes out and the next premiere comes out, this time we'll jump in first in line to get you there. But anything else that pops up along the way, you ping us and we'll put out to our community the
I,
best we
I
can.
am. I am. I should announce, and you'll like this. I'm
Okay.
my in 2 months, in November, I'm directing a music video about Gold Star mothers. I don't know if you knew that. It's a song called "Dear Mom" by Shannon Book, and it's going to honor Gold Star families, Gold Star mothers, and I'm really excited about that project because I haven't tackled the family. Well, I did, but this is a different, Gold Star families, the family side of it, and I'm really excited about that.
That'll be intense. I can tell you that right now. Well, if you need any information on that, you want to just get a little behind the scenes on that. I'm happy to walk you through some of what it's like from our experience and others, so you have some perspective going in as
I've
well.
already
But
thought
I'm sure,
about reaching out to you about that.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I'm there's so many things that people don't see and know. So yeah, I'd be happy to. And I can also connect you. I mean, I imagine you have connections through that video, whoever wrote the song and all that, but I can give you gold stars, man. I can give you gold stars up the wazoo. So you tell me what's enough, and we'll do it.
I'll
But
send
yes,
you.
that's exactly what.
I'm about to write the script for that, and I'll send it to you. See what you think.
Perfect. Perfect. So really, again, thank you so much. Tell people where they can connect with you, follow you, stay up on all your current events, and make sure to catch announcements for your premieres and such so they don't miss them.
You can follow me at triplemartiniproductions.com. Triplemartiniproductions.com. You'll see, I put all my films up there, and it has my social media links. And you can also buy some of my films if you feel like doing that too.
Perfect. Thank you again so much.
Okay, you guys, thank you so much.